Now, Cornel West had this discussion on Sean Hannity's show on Fox News. Now, let me go ahead and say what I got to say, because I know some people are going to see this and be like, why did he go on Fox News? Why did he do that on MSNBC or CNN? I don't know, but I do know that some people from the Bernie campaign are not being invited onto those networks. They're not being invited onto CNN. They're not being invited on MSNBC. And if they were, they're probably not going to ask him to give a report card for Joe Biden, because they want it to be positive news about Joe Biden, right? Those are the liberal networks. That's how this works. So he was on Sean Hannity's show. I'm going to chime in between here and there. There's some parts where I agree. There's some parts where I disagree. And there's something else that I noticed that happened in this discussion, something I've seen happen multiple times when people go onto these networks and they try to critique both parties. So let's go ahead and get into that. Let's see, how did Dr. West grade Joe Biden?
Is it okay if we change roles tonight? Can I be the test giver? You're usually giving the test. I want to be the professor for a minute.
That sounds good.
What would you give Joe Biden since he has been president? What grade would you give him on the economy?
On the economy, I would say Joe Biden would not be on the dean's list. He would be about a C plus, near B minus.
C.
Let's pause there. So the first question is about the economy. So Cornel West is letting you know he will not be on the dean's list. So he said it would be like a C plus or a B minus. I would actually have given him, considering the fact that the economy was already problematic before Joe Biden went into office, but yes, things did get worse under inflation, I would actually have given Joe Biden a D on the economy. And the reason being is because Colin said the same thing. Robert said that. Bryce said F. You guys are oh God. Okay, so I do want to. There is no F minus gamer. I do want to explain. The reason why I would give him a D is because going into 2020, towards the end of 2019, towards the end of 2019, the economy was already tanking. Several factors. The big one, obviously, was the pandemic, right? And then also, if you lived in one of these states like I did, Massachusetts, if you lived in a state that shut down completely during the pandemic for an extended amount of time, our economy was hit worse. I will say that some of the businesses that closed down during that time, remember, it was only supposed to be a temporary thing, or we only thought maybe this was going to be like 2-3 weeks, maybe most. It ended up being longer than that for those businesses to be shut down. So I watched a lot of small mom and pop businesses, restaurants, actually ones that are tourist attractions here in Boston, had to close permanently because they were not able to recoup what they lost during that shutdown. So they couldn't come back into business. And then at the same time, you still have to pay rent on the property. You have to pay taxes to the city. There's all these other things that you have to pay for as well. And if you're not operating and not in business, you're hit kind of hard. So keep that in mind. When I'm given that grade of a D, I live in a state that was shut down. So I watched a lot of businesses close and I watched people lose their jobs. So that's one part of it. So going into 2020, you already had an economy that was weak and that was poor, depending on if you lived in a state that was shut down or not. So he came into an economy that was already problematic. I said the same thing about Barack Obama when he first took office in 2008. He came into an economy that was already problematic. So I do acknowledge that and I do realize that. That being said, though, I know that there has been record job creation that they're talking about or whatever. But these jobs are not paying living wages that people need in order to pay for their bills. So it doesn't matter if McDonald's has created 2,000 jobs. It doesn't matter if Target created 2,000 jobs. It doesn't matter how many jobs were created. What matters is what are those jobs paying people? And so that's a big problem. So that's problematic. Three, when it came to the stimulus check, he didn't give us the full 2,000. He lied to people and said that he was going to give us $2,000 checks. then we got like shortchanged on that. And he said, well, part of that was from the money that Trump gave you, which is not the way it was explained to the American people. We didn't get another stimulus after that. The next thing is that he removed people from unemployment on Labor Day. So the reason why the unemployment rate was so low after September is because Joe Biden kicked people off of unemployment. And I think that is really important. We have to mention that. You can't just talk about the numbers without talking about what caused the numbers to increase or decrease. So he kicked people off of unemployment. So the economy might look one way. It may look good on paper if you're looking at the numbers. Oh, unemployment rate decreased. But what happened to those people that got kicked off unemployment? I'm still seeing people get evicted. We're having record number of evictions. So I would give him a D, and I'm only giving him a D and not an F because he came into his presidency with the economy already weak. Let's go back in.
Plus B minus. Wow, that is. I'd give him an F. All right, let's go to gas prices.
You give an F? Whoa, no, he couldn't have an F.
What grade would you give Joe Biden on his? Hang on. I'm the professor. You have to listen to the professor. What grade would you give him on?
Need to be interrogated too.
All right. What grade would you give him on his energy policies?
Oh, no, I like his energy policies. We've got an ecological crisis we got to come to terms with, my brother. But keep in mind, though, Brother Sean, even though I know you're the professor.
You're not playing along. What grade would you give him?
I'd give him a B. I would give him a B, but the important thing is
41-year high of inflation.
Okay, he would give him a B on the energy crisis. I would actually give him a C. And I think, I don't know, if you guys think I'm being too harsh, just let me know. I'm open here. I would give him a C because at the end of the day, Joe Biden is still okay with fracking, and that's a huge problem. He's still okay with that. The other reason why I would give him that grade is because even though there has been legislation that has been passed to help some type of energy and climate, crisis, at the same time, there were also provisions in that legislation that still makes it possible for those fossil fuel companies to still make money and to buy land, public land. So it's like a wash here. It's like you're doing something good, but then you're also doing something that's going to hurt the climate and the energy crisis we have in this country. So they kind of wash each other out. So I would have actually given him a C, not a B. What's my score so far? I said D, C. Okay, let's go back in.
A B minus. Then you give him a B on the highest gas prices we've ever paid. What would you give him on his gas prices?
It's dealing with the ecological crisis. Dealing with ecological crisis.
What would you give him on his open borders policy that has now resulted in a record 2 million plus illegal immigrants entering the country this year?
I would give him a C minus.
Wow. All right, now we're getting somewhere.
But the important thing is,
so I wouldn't have called that, the way that Hannity phrased this, I wouldn't have phrased that open border, but that's what they do. They do that on Fox News. I get it. They're trying to be like, oh, Democrats want open borders. I would have phrased that as immigration reform. That's how I would have phrased that. And Dr. West said he would give him a C minus. I would give him a C minus too, because that still hasn't been fixed. They're still adding on to Trump's border wall, even though they were against the wall when they were running for campaign, but they're adding on to the wall that Trump started. So it's just really confusing there. But also there has been no improvement in reference to immigration reform in this country. None. I know people who have gone through the process. I know people have told me it's taken 10 years to just get the citizenship. So that has not been improved. That is something that Kamala Harris is supposed to be responsible for. That is something that Joe Biden said he would get a handle on. He has not gotten a handle on it. And then also that whole crisis that's happening at the border is still problematic. The kids are still in cages. So that didn't change, even though that was something that people, Democrats talked about during Trump's presidency. That didn't change. The kids are still in cages. So I don't really see that there has been improvement when it comes to immigration reform. But I think Hannity should have phrased it that way instead of open borders. That's how I would have phrased it.
This, though, Brother Sean, is not just a matter of the grades. You and I know we're at a moment where American democracy may be coming to an end, my brother. No, the republic itself might be coming to an end. This is not about politicians. This is about the greed, the hatred, the hypocrisy on both sides, both parties corrupt, but we have to be able. But I'm asking, because we got an election.
That's the piece that I've noticed, I've seen happen multiple times during interviews where they cut them off when they make this particular statement. And I do have to say, when you're interviewing someone, please let them speak. When you ask them a question, give them a chance to answer the question. I don't like when people do interviews and they're talking over the person that they're interviewing, because it's hard for me to understand what's being said here. Let the people speak. Listen to what he says. I'm going to point it out.
Getting somewhere. But the important thing is this, though, Brother Sean, it's not just a matter of the grades. You and I know we're at a moment where American democracy may be coming to an end, my brother. No, the republic itself might be coming to an end. This is not about politicians. This is about the greed, the hatred, the hypocrisy on both sides, both parties corrupt, but we have to be able. But I'm asking.
Cornel West said both parties are corrupt. And notice how he cuts them off. And I've seen that happen every time that someone I've seen them go on, whether it's Fox News, CNN, or MSNBC. Anytime they make that statement that both parties are corrupt, they cut them off. Because here's the thing. When you go on to Fox News, they really want you there to criticize the Democratic Party. When you go on to CNN, they want you there to criticize the Republican Party. It is when you make the statement that both parties are problematic and both parties are corrupt, then they got to jump in and go, wait a minute now, let's go on to something else. Let's cut you off. Let's interrupt you, because they don't want their audience to hear that. That goes for both networks, by the way, CNN and Fox News. Neither one of them want their audience to hear that both parties are problematic. So pay attention to that when you hear that.
Because we got an election in 28 days, but so I want to get you a grade.
We can't win a short-term election and lose our democracy, brother.
But I would give Biden an F on the economy. I'd give him an F on energy policies. I'd give him an F on the border. Here's a very important question, and I think it's one of the reasons why African Americans, Hispanic Americans all over the country are fed up with Biden, and that is we have record violent crime in every big city and small town because the Democrats defund, dismantle, no bail laws. I give Biden an F.
What did he just say? One second.
I think it's one of the reasons why African Americans, Hispanic Americans all over the country are fed up with Biden, and that is we have record violent crime in every big city and small town because the Democrats defund, dismantle, no bail laws.
Which cities have been defunded? Did NYC defund their police department? Has Boston defunded our police department? No, we haven't. Did Chicago defund their police department? Did LA defund their police department? Which cities defunded their police department? Tell me. Tell me. I know two that tried something close to that. And one was Burlington, Vermont, which there aren't that many people in Burlington, Vermont, or the state. I've been there, I know. And the other was Camden, New Jersey. But at Camden, New Jersey, they called it something different. So these big cities that he's referring to, which one of those name the big city that defunded their police department? Because from what I've seen, those big cities have been giving more money to their police departments. They've increased funding for policing.
I give Biden an F on law and order, safety and security, because that prevents people from pursuing happiness.
But Joe Biden gave money to the police. Did he not listen to the same State of the Union address that I listened to? Joe Biden does not want to defund the police. Joe Biden wants to give the cops more money. So what is he talking about? This doesn't make any sense. Let's hear what Dr. West has to say.
Cornel West, great professor that you are. What grade do you give Biden on law and order and safety and security?
Well, when it comes to law and order, not just for the streets, but for Wall Street, when it comes to law and order for the well-to-do.
How about the people? The people that live on the streets.
But everyday people, because I mean, when you're talking about poverty, wealth inequality, decrepit schools, indecent housing, unemployment, all of those things also add.
That's a lot of lead up to a grade of.
That was the case. That was the case for your friend, Brother Trump, too. Let's just be honest about it.
Trump
it's
Trump
just
actually
not the
believed in law
neoliberals
and
who are greedy, brother. It's the neo-fascists who are greedy, too.
Trump gave us energy independence. Trump gave us the lowest unemployment for every demographic. You didn't answer, though.
Let's get back to the policing question here, because this is really interesting about crime. Because Dr. West brought up the problem with the crime issue, which is poverty and lack of resources. But Sean Hannity doesn't want to hear that part. See, all these people that come on and they talk about like the crime rate has increased and and you start to tell people, let's get to the why and talk about poverty. Then they don't want to have the conversation. If you're not telling them, well, it's because Democrats started saying defund the police. Yeah, but did they defund them? I'm seeing there's more police officers. There's more of them. Ask people that live in New York, that live in New York City, how many police officers they got standing around now. Just standing around, harassing people. So when you bring up the poverty part about crime, they don't want to hear the reason why. They don't want to hear why crime has increased. Yes, we have a poverty issue in this country. And look, the wealthiest country in the world, we have a poverty issue because the money and the resources are not being allocated the way that they should. And it's been a problem for a long time. This didn't just start this year. It's been a problem. It has increased. It's worse because people are in dire straits now. Food costs more now. Even fast food. They've increased their prices. Gas increased. It's gone down in some places, and some places it's still kind of high. It depends on where you live. So if you already have someone who's living in poverty, and then we go through inflation and prices increase, of course the crime is going to increase. My thing is, why not fix the poverty situation? But they don't want to do that. You start talking about that, and then they start saying, oh, that's socialism. Having more cops does not decrease crime. And we've talked about this before. Police solve 0.02% of crime. Increasing the number of officers, and we've seen this through data, does not decrease the crime. You have to decrease the poverty level. That's how you do it.
What grade would you give Joe Biden and the Democratic Party on wait a minute, on crime and law and order? What grade?
Trump on law and order?
No, Biden. He's the president. He's your president.
Okay. I would give him a C minus.
C minus. All right, last question of the night, and I'm going to let you go.
In reference to Biden on law and order or policing, whatever he wants to frame it as, I would give him an F, and not because of increase in crime. I would give him an F because he's given the police more money. That's why I would rate him the way that I would rate him. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that here we go. It doesn't matter if you have a Republican or a Democrat in office. After everything that happened after George Floyd, after Joe Biden, the speeches that he made after George Floyd's death, all of them, Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyburn with their kente cloth, kneeling looking like a fool. After everything that they said, their response to that, when people were protesting, the demand was to defund the police. Their response was, let's give them more money. That was their response to the George Floyd situation.
This is, and you got to give me a fair grade here. What grade do I get as a host?
What grade do you get as a host?
Yeah, as a host.
Brother Sean, my question is, what is the Christian dimension of your practice in terms of greed, hatred, corruption talked about on your show, and have you contributed to the shattering of the glue that hold us together?
What is my grade?
I would give you a D. I gave you a D, brother.
The lowest grade of the night.
I'm giving you a D.
I'm going to shock you because I'm going to grade you. I'm going to give you your grade.
Me.
I am giving you an A because I like you so much, and if I like you that much, I have to give you an A. You're wrong on everything, but I give you an A.
You know. But of course, as a Christian, you know I'm going to be loving you and your family. But the question is, we got to make sure we got a democracy and a republic by 2024. We have a republic.
And you know what? We have an election in 28 days, and our border's not secure. We're paying the highest gas prices we've ever paid. 41-year high.
I thought it was funny that Sean Hannity said we have a republic, but he didn't say we have a democracy. That was interesting.
Inflation and our towns and cities are not safe.
Gangsterized, my brother. Too much hatred, too much greed, too much hypocrisy on both sides.
You're down to an A-. You better be careful.
See, once again, Cornel West said too much hatred, too much hypocrisy on both sides. And you see how they cut in, they overtalk.
Empire crossing of the Rubicon. Caesar,
about to be a C.
But I appreciate the A, even though that's just our brotherhood and friendship. I got
that's
that.
Right.
I know that, though, brother. I know that.
So shout out to Case Study QB for that clip. Case is always doing the damn thing. I'm gonna go to some of the comments, but yeah, I graded Joe Biden much harsher, but I'm looking at things, I think, from a different perspective. But I just can't do it. Love Dr. West, but I definitely had to grade him harder than that. Colin says, I don't understand how Dr. West can rip Obama to shreds, but he doesn't for Biden. That's a good point, Colin. That's a good point. But a lot of people have been doing that, Colin. A lot of people have been doing that. JB, we do have record violent crime from police. Police are committing violent crime all the time. That's right. Simone, crime is driven by lack of resources to the citizens, not the police. That's right. There you go. And thank you for the super chat, Seeking Freedom. Detroit just bumped their PD base pay by $20K. See? They keep talking about defunding the police, and I'm like, who defunded the police? JB says Hannity is more interested in treating the symptoms instead of the problem because curing the problem means taking power away from oligarchs who sign his paycheck. Bingo. Bingo.